So welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be potting on my courgettes, squashes, cucumbers, pumpkins, that sort of thing. I'm going to be giving you some top tips on how to look after your plants and to stop them from dying prematurely. If you've not already subscribed to my channel, could you please do so, because you'll get lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my home garden, my allotment and also my home kitchen. Now I've got a selection of different squashes, courgettes, cucumbers here, and I'm going to be potting them on. You could plant them straight into the garden now, but personally I find if you bring them on a little bit more, they get a little bit more robust and they're less likely to be attacked by slugs. Now one of the main things to bear in mind when you're looking after your young tender seedlings, and this is any seedlings and not just courgettes, what I find is a lot of people overwater them, and that kills the plant. It's called it damping off. If you overwater it, it kind of sends a signal to the plant and the plant starts to shut down, and then you lose your plants. Another thing that people do is they don't get enough proper daylight. So if they're in a double glazed environment, they don't get the right light on them. You either need single glaze, or ideally when you can, bring them out into the proper sunlight now, and that helps the plants photosynthesize better, and it helps them grow much better. It's what they need, because ideally they're going to be out and they're going to be getting proper daylight, or maybe in some people's polytunnels, which obviously that's not double glazed. That's absolutely fine. So I've got lots of plants here that are too big for the pots. So obviously I'm going to split them up into single pots so that they can grow a little bit better, and when they've come on a little bit more, then I'll be putting them out into my allotment. Having one of these little potting trays is really useful, so I really recommend getting one of these. They don't cost an awful lot of money and they're well worth it. So this one here is just a normal traditional dark green courgette, so the one we all know and love. So I'm going to gently break them up, very gently. Try and you know, not pull the dirt away too much, but you're going to lose a little bit. As you can see, most of my pots now, the roots are coming down to the bottom, so they are really well established. So it's a really good time to start potting these on into bigger pots. So very gently do that, and then I usually put a little bit of soil into the bottom of the pot before I start putting it on, like so, just a little bit, just so it's got something to land on, and then just gently slide it in. Try and touch it as little as possible is what I try and do, and then just fill the compost around it without even touching it. I try and do just like that. It's easier than you think, and then that is beautifully potted on like so. It takes a bit of time to do this. Gently press it down, and then obviously don't forget to put labels in each one like so. So I'm just going to move on and do some more. So these are all the same one, so obviously I'll do those all together. The deeper the pots, the easier it is with something like this as well, is what I will say. So when you're potting on, it's quite hard sometimes to find slightly deeper pots, but that's what you want, so you've got a nice amount of root system building up before they go into their final resting place, which for me will be my allotment. So like that, look, so it's much easier than you think to not touch the plants that much. So you kind of put it in very gently and push the compost in and around. My soil is quite moist already, because I use a combination of core and multi-purpose that I've mixed together. And to make the core, you put water with it to expand it, so the soil's already quite moist indeed already. So again, same thing over here, little bit of compost in the bottom, just a very small amount. Gently pop that in, like I say, touch it as little as possible, and you're less likely to damage, because what you're trying not to do is you don't want to damage the stems. You will damage the odd one, don't worry about it, happens to everybody, but just by doing it this way, I find that I damage it the least. And I don't push down really, I just kind of go around the top like that, just to gently push the compost down like so. Hopefully it won't be too long and I'll be getting these out into my allotment. What I find is that you do often lose a few to the slugs. It is part of it. I would recommend definitely starting off more than you need to. You can always give them away to friends and family and other allotment holders. If you do have too many, it is generally quite an easy thing to get rid of. Nearly every year I do start off too many, but I have had the odd year where the slugs have got more than, I would normally say I might lose about a third, a quarter to a third as a general rule of thumb, so I'll always have more than I need. Sometimes the odds go a little bit the other way. If you get a lot of rain when you've just planted them out, the slugs are more likely to come out and attack them, and all the different ways you can try and prevent slugs. You're generally always going to lose a few, and if you don't, then you're very, very lucky indeed. So over the space of what I think is about an hour, I've now potted on all my courgettes and pumpkins and squashes. They're all potted out. A few things to bear in mind when you're doing it, and it was only my thoughts as I was doing it. You've only got so many pots, so when you're repotting them on, I know it seems obvious, but we all do it and we don't think of the pot size. The smaller things, put in smaller pots. So if things haven't grown so much, just pot them on into smaller pots. And the bigger things, pot them on into bigger pots. I say that because with the best will in the world, you'll never have enough pots for everything. And the worst thing is if the large ones don't have big enough pots to pot them into. The other thing to bear in mind is when you've potted them on, is if you're like me, potting a lot of things on to water as you pot them on. You will get a few wilters. Don't alarm yourselves with that, and you will also get a few casualties. Sometimes they will, and they normally bounce back again. Same thing with tomatoes when you plant them on, so don't think, oh gosh, they've wilted over, they're not going to be any good. Water as you pot them on, say 6 at a time, and then put them in the shade like I've done. So I've potted all of them on, rather than have them out in the blistering sun, which I know will make them struggle a little bit. I've popped them into the shade to help them get the best start they possibly can. So, and I'll try and get my plants outside as much as possible to try and get them weathered. You know, with the cost of living rise that we're having at the moment, you know, growing your own fruit and vegetables is something that will make a massive difference, and not only save you money, it means that you'll probably eat better than you've ever eaten before, and you can share it with your friends and family and others around you that are struggling, because there's no way that I'm going to plant all these out. I'll definitely have leftovers, and I'll share them with my friends and family so they can enjoy homegrown fruit and vegetables too. Now, as usual, please do like, comment, share. The more we do this, the more people we can help, and the easier life will be for everybody.